This is HBR News number 539. Skeletor is a toxic male. Female bullying is an epidemic, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I'm your host, Brian. I'm joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts, Hannah Wallen and Dr. Ranmercam.
Hello.
Hello. And this week on HBR News, we're going to be talking about the Emaru situation, which is a Twitch streamer who basically dared to not have an opinion. Discord is going to soon require Face ID verification. Skeletor is the embodiment of based and more, so stick around, it's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So I have a confession to make. I don't have any topic in mind for the patron show. We're just going to chat and hang out, and that's usually what happens anyway. I mean, the topic is kind of like a backdrop thing. I can find something, or maybe we can like expand on one of the stories we talked about. But, you know, it should be entertaining and fun regardless of what we end up doing.
We'll probably end up talking about food. We often do, even when there is a topic.
Food and movies. Or whatever. I mean, like, there is definitely stuff I could talk about. I've been watching a documentary, and I could talk a little bit about that in the patron show. It's an art documentary. It's about art, but it's a really fascinating stuff, interesting to me. So anyway... But look, whatever it is we're talking about is going to be good. So you should definitely come hang out with whatever it is we're going to be discussing. Consider it the mystery topic, the mystery box topic. And, mystery box works for J.J. Abrams, so maybe it'll work for us. So if you guys want to do that, become a Badger yourself by going to feedthebadger.com and setting up a monthly subscription. That's feedthebadger.com/subscribe to do that. $5 a month will get you into our Discord server where you'll be able to enjoy all of the additional content. And, there's lots of other bonus things going on. There's events, there's little cliques, we're not like fighty cliques, but like everybody has their thing. There's the weebs and there's the gamers and there's, the movie nerds and the people who read and the people who write, etc. So yeah, lots going on. So please consider joining our community. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we've been yeeted from the internet, go to badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com to find where all of our content lives. So, with all of that out of the way, let us get into today's stories. So this is very, very new. Discord announced yesterday that it will implement a global teen by default settings rollout starting in early March of 2026. This change shifts all new and existing user accounts to a restricted, age-appropriate experience by default, limiting access to sensitive or adult content, certain channels and servers, unblurring marked media, direct messages from unknowns, and some communication features unless users verify that they are adults. The policy aims to enhance teen safety and complies with or exceeds regional online protection standards, building on prior implementations in places like the United Kingdom and Australia. As you guys know, just briefly, I know Keir Starmer's government and a lot of people in the European Union are trying to do something about X, and they were claiming that Elon Musk's platform was endangering girls because people were using Grok to put women in bikinis. But of course, they failed to mention that the majority of people putting women in bikinis were women putting themselves in bikinis to promote their OnlyFanses and Patreons and Fansleys and stuff like that, and just like to get attention online. But
it's not putting women in bikinis, it's drawing pictures.
Yeah, it's drawing pictures of bikinis on top of pictures.
Drawing a picture of a woman in a bikini is not putting a woman in a bikini. Here's reality. Here is not reality.
It's not reality. It's artificial. Yeah, but anyway, but it doesn't matter. Like what Grok was being used for, and how this is bad. Was something that is simply the impetus or the excuse that the European Union and the United Kingdom and Australia and other countries in the Anglosphere are using to basically say we got to ban or control X. So this is happening in Discord. It's sort of like in line with that. So think of it as sort of related, okay? But Discord is completely, bending the knee to this. To regain full access and disable these restrictions, users can opt for age verification through either an on-device facial age estimation via a short video selfie processed by AI without leaving the device, or using facial recognition or biometrics, or by submitting a government-issued ID to third-party vendor partners, with documents typically deleted immediately after confirmation. At least that's the claim. Not all users will necessarily need to verify manually, as Discord may use an age inference model based on account behavior to automatically classify some as adults. Verification status remains private and invisible to others. This has sparked privacy concerns and backlash among some users, though Discord emphasizes data protection measures. So,
I could have sworn they already did this. Last time I was in the States, last summer, that was when the UK rolled the Digital Safety Act at least further along the road. And at the time, I was worried that when I came home, I'd be unable to use Discord without showing my papers. But lo and behold, nothing happened. Everything was the same. But I suppose it's happening now. What they did then is happening now, or happening soon, or whatever. Although a lot of this doesn't even affect me. I don't indulge in adult content in Discord or anywhere else. I'm not interested. And I don't encounter blurred or marked media unless it's a spoiler for a movie. And I have no interest whatsoever in direct messages from unknowns. In fact, I'm delighted that I'll never have to worry about having my grumpy peace disturbed by randos. I am a miserable bastard, and if I don't know you through Honey Badger Radio, you can fuck off. So thank you, Discord, as and when you solve that problem for me. But this restricting access to certain channels or servers is a little bit perturbing, because that could mean anything. It doesn't even mean controversial content or whatever. It's just content that the woke scolds don't like. It's like YouTube all over again. It's like Twitter 1.0 all over again. It's like Facebook and all these other places all over again. You would think the first thing they'd clamp down on is the likes of Vosh and Destiny, talking to young teens about fucking horses and guzzling their cum and whatnot. But yeah, no, those people are socialists, and socialists are good people. What this means is restricting any content that's in the business of criticizing socialism or feminism or globalism, no matter how politely we do it. Conspiring to end the white race, especially the white male race, that's absolutely fine. But saying a certain word that begins with N in any context for any reason, even through the surreptitious use of an N tower, that's a paddling. All that's a paddling. That's what's going to happen. This isn't our first rodeo, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't the first time we've been trampled by a load of horses with a load of socialists hanging from their abdominal sockets. So, yeah, I suppose we have nothing to fear unless they find us. Famous last words. But it's a good thing we're such a small operation here at Honey Badger Radio, and we don't particularly appeal to teenagers. We appeal to middle to old age autists. Teenagers aren't really, because teenagers are all mostly rebellious retards who think equality is something achievable or desirable. Irony of ironies, the very people who appeal to teenagers in this way are the very people who should be hunted down as the political extremists and child groomers they are. But they will be the ones who get to rake in millions of dollars while they lie relentlessly and groom children relentlessly. Good times. Weird that people are arguing about the Epstein shenanigans and the coded language therein. Meanwhile, shit like that is still going on in the Discord servers of other such degenerate socialists to this day. And they're not even calling it pizza or jerky or shrimp. No, they're just straight up telling children how much they want to fuck them and choke them and eat their still conscious bodies. And they'll continue to get away with it as long as they don't say any racial slurs. But we'll see. I suppose we'll see. Narrator's voice. We will not see.
I think a lot of people aren't as upset about this as they should be. And it's not just Discord. Facebook, I think, was the first social media to do this, and they did it well before any nation decided they had to. And they're not doing it to protect children. There is still the occasional instance where you run into images on Facebook that are illicit and reportable. We'll just put it that way. I don't report much, but there are certain things like that. But you don't report it to Facebook. That's the kind of thing you try to call police on, and that's how that should be handled, not demanding every innocent party on the platform hand over information that can be used to steal your financial information. Every instance of unnecessary sharing of your driver's license number or your state ID or any other proof of your identity with an organization that doesn't need it to verify that it's your bank account being used or your identity under which a loan is being taken out or something like that, is them demanding that you risk getting robbed to do business with them. And that's what that is about. They basically want the ability to find you and act on you in some way or another for saying things they don't like. And they're willing to risk, to add to the risk that you already face from using your credit card at various shopping locations, even physical stores, and using your ID for any kind of financial transactions. That somewhere along the line, somebody's going to get that information, get into your bank accounts, get your housing information. If you have ownership of a home, they can steal your deed now. They're just contributing to that. Just so that if you say something they don't like, even if it's "Make America Great Again," right? Or to go the other direction, even if it's "Fuck Trump," right? That they can come after you, send somebody to your house to roust you for saying it. And while it'll be harder for them to implement control over your speech in the United States, they'll find ways to do it. Well, we're not taking government action against you, but your bank doesn't want to do business with you anymore because you said, XYZ. Doesn't even matter whether it was tiddlywinks. If they decide tiddlywinks is a bad word and an insult to some group of people, well, you can't say that anymore. You said tiddlywinks one too many times in Discord. Sorry, you're being debanked. And it's not a government action. The government didn't make the bank do this. They just don't want their reputation sullied by association with you. And since we told them you said that a bunch of times in our platform, right? Or you're getting kicked off social media. You're depersoned now. Everything that you're obligated to do via social media for your job, you can't anymore. You can't promote your employer. You can't maintain contact with your colleagues. You can't, use this particular system as a means of communication. Oh, and by the way, your phone company is also going to stop associating with you. So your employer can't call you. Sorry if that gets you fired. That's not our fault. You're the one who said tiddlywinks over and over again. shame on you. What kind of a person talks like that in a public place? And it doesn't matter if it's your private Discord server. You know that's public, right? Anybody can see that if they have the right information on how to get in. And of course, the administration at Discord can see that. Or Twitch, if it's your Twitch direct messages, or Facebook, if it's your Facebook messages, or any number of the smaller social media that, hell, I don't even know what exists anymore. There's dozens that I tried out back when I was doing social bookmarking for writing and stuff. But any of them, it doesn't matter what the platform is. The more platforms bend to the rules that are being put into place by nanny states in Europe and by nanny states like Australia, and try to impose on American citizens that hey, you got to do this too, the more your privacy is threatened. And that's the real point. The real point is getting you accustomed to the idea that you don't have a right to privacy, that you don't have privacy, that you never should have had privacy, and that you never will again. And if you can be acclimated to that, if you can be convinced that every infringement on your privacy is justified by the previous infringements, that you don't have a right to your own space, you don't have a right to communicate freely with other people, you don't have a right to your own thoughts, is the ultimate conclusion there. Then they can make you do whatever they want. They can control you in any way that they like. And that's the ultimate goal. You don't have a right to freedom.
Yep. Very well said again. I'm not sure what, I mean, we may have to consider moving to a different platform of some kind. I don't know, or changing what we have on in our Discord if we have to, but Allison needs to know about this because she runs the Discord, so she'll have to make a call on it. I haven't been able to talk to her all day, but we'll see. I mean, for now, we're just going to keep using Discord. I just shilled it anyway. Just, be mindful of that. But I think that we need alternative platforms. We should always have something in mind, which is why I'm big on pushing Rumble on people to check it out, because again, Rumble's not a ghetto like YouTube is. At least it's less of a ghetto. So if you guys could get on Rumble, please do. I understand there's another new video hosting service as well that is starting to pick up. I gotta look into it, but David Lowboy says look into NOSTR. Okay, well, I don't know what that is, but I will look it up while this show is going. NOSTR, notes and other stuff. Okay, all right, thank you. Senior Sticks, how about Pornhub? No. I know there's lots of regular content on Pornhub, so I've heard, but
Somebody suggested that when we were having difficulty with
I'm not
YouTube
trying to get on a list. I don't think we want that.
Can you imagine somebody's on there looking for porn and they run across a stream that just looks like this?
Yeah, right. It's like animals talking about politics and men's issues. You still have locals, which is connected to Rumble. Yes, I know, but Allison's not quite glomming with Rumble. She's not really getting into it as much. I mean, it's there and she's using it, but it's not a priority. So you'll have to convince Allison to maybe push Rumble harder. We could use Rumble Studio, for example, instead of Restream.io. And I mean, I find that it works pretty well. I use it on my channel just to test the tools, and I think that Rumble Studio is very good, and you don't pay anything for it. It comes with Rumble, by default. So if you have a Rumble Premium, it's probably even better. But anyway, yeah, I think that there's definitely, we gotta look into other options. So And this by the way is coming out. It starts in March, so we still have like some time to like sort of reorient if we need to. But let me see if anyone has sent any super chats through or super chats. No, nothing yet. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Please send a super chat or a super chow or Rumble rant if you have something to add to this conversation. I look forward to seeing your thoughts. With that out of the way, let us move into the next story. So we have a new chud of the month. And that is Emiru. So who is Emiru? Well, a viral clip from Twitch streamer Emiru's February 7th, 2026 livestream sparked widespread controversy when it appeared to show her dodging a question about immigration and customs enforcement, or ICE, leading to accusations of cowardice and attempts to remain apolitical to avoid alienating viewers. Critics on platforms like X and Reddit labeled her silence as tacit support for ICE, with political commentator Denims, who is basically a wannabe version of Emiru, a woman, calling her a racist chud, and others framing her response as an effort to retain controversial followers. Supporters defended her right to avoid political discussions, arguing that streamers shouldn't be forced into commentary on topics outside their expertise, and that the backlash exemplified online mob behavior. For the record, Emiru is not a political streamer at all. She is, I don't even know. She's just like a girl online. I don't even know that she has content. I think she eats food and listens to music. Like, like she's, that's it. But she
But what
is,
kind of food? What kind of music?
Yeah, I know. But she does or has done streams with Asmongold, who is the enemy of these people. Well, but not like only him, like with other streamers amongst, one of him being one of those other streamers. But anyway, so Emiru gave a, if you are asking Twitch streamers for political advice, then you probably should get off the internet, because Twitch streamers are not, generally not experts. They're not really like people that you should be going to. And that was what she got in trouble for, because essentially, there is no such thing as neutrality. There is only you are with us, you are against us. So in response to all this backlash that she got, Emiru, she did the one thing you never do. She posted a lengthy apology and clarification on X on February 8th, 2026, explaining that the clip was maliciously edited to misrepresent her reaction. She was actually responding to an unrelated mod question containing the word ICE, not the agency, and affirming her position to ICE as a matter of basic human empathy, not politics. She also addressed past associations with controversial figures, stating that she immediately cuts ties. So this is talking about Asmongold. They were like, well, why don't you denounce this guy? Let me see. Reactions. Yeah, immediately she cuts ties upon learning of any abusive behavior. Reactions to her statement were mixed. Some praised it as a sincere stand, while critics dismissed it as damage control, accused her of lying about the edit, citing the full clip, and demanded more explicit condemnations, like saying fuck ICE. Others advised that she shouldn't have apologized, as it emboldened the outrage mob to continue pressuring her. That's where I stand on that. Never, ever apologize. Full stop. But anyway, go ahead.
Is this cancel culture 2.0? It wasn't good enough to persecute people for what they say, for the socio-political opinions they voice. Now they're persecuting people for what they don't say. The right to remain silent, it turns out, is not really a right. It's entirely contingent on who's pulling your strings. You might think you're an independent voice who's not beholden to any captured company, but no, you are beholden to the mob of merciless oikophobic terrorists. Your speech is compelled and stifled at the same time. I say this like it's a recent development, but this has always been the case in the legacy media. The employees therein must say what their bosses tell them to say. Their bosses must say what the head office tells them to say. And the head office must say what the shady fuckers in the government tell them to say, or what the shady fuckers like George Soros pay them to say. It shouldn't be lost on anyone that 2 years ago, under the Biden regime, no one was compelled to say fuck ice, even though ice existed. It's just that at the time, ice only consisted of Alejandro Mayorkas and 2 female midgets and a penguin. Mayorkas was tasked with shamelessly lying to the public about the border being perfectly secure, while the 2 female midgets sat in an office pushing papers across a table, and the penguin just wandered off into the mountains. But why? There's some kind of joke in here about literal ice, but I can't think of it. Shut up. Point is, people didn't need to say fuck ice back then, because ice was already fucked. It had become a feeble, anemic shoestring of department, just like the Democrats always wanted it to be. Like, say what you like about Trump and how he hasn't managed to fix every problem in the space of 12 months, but he has at least resurrected the corpse of ICE and actually got them actually doing their job. They're still only barely making a dent in the tens of millions of illegals smuggled into the country by the Biden regime, but at least they're actually out there now doing something. And to the Democrats and their army of smooth-brained sacrificial sheep, this is an outrage. An agency doing the bare minimum of what it's supposed to be doing is the Gestapo, because these people hate Americans, and they want Americans to work their asses to the bone to pay for their own replacement. They don't just want it, they demand it. They enforce it by mob rule. And if you don't say exactly what they tell you to say, they will downgrade you from a sacrificial sheep to a sacrificial goat. They will cast you out into the desert and watch your bones bleaching in the sun. And they have the raw fucking nerve to call you a coward for not saying what they compel you to say. They will call you a coward for planting yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and telling the whole world, no, you move. And in truth, that Captain America quote doesn't go far enough. In truth, it goes all the way back to the origins of Zen. You don't even have to say, no, you move. You don't have to say anything, for the mighty tree does not say anything other than the implicit announcement that it is here. It simply grows so large and so imposing that to even consider cutting it down would be a task so gargantuan as to result only in diminishing returns. Having said that, we have evolved beyond trees. We as humans are indeed blessed with the avenue of self-defense. We have the ability to speak as we will, and we have the ability to do as we will. And this is why we endeavor to speak softly and carry a big stick. And we can go further. We can speak no words at all and carry the entire fucking tree. The metaphor Theodore Roosevelt used was obviously referring not to a big stick, but to a gun. Such is the American way. Well, you have a massive gun, America. You have a gun the size of a tree. So you don't even need to speak softly. You can merely stand there with your giant gun, proclaiming to the world, silently, in implication only, a 5-word phrase. The non-verbal equivalent of the world's most powerful phrase. The world's most proud, secure, everlasting, Zen-maxing phrase. Anyone? It's fuck around and find out.
Okay, I was like, what?
yeah. We don't have that phrase in Europe. We don't have access to that sentiment, with the exception of Switzerland. I mean, God bless Switzerland. It's like the USA. Everyone has a gun. I wish I could move to Switzerland, but if I did, they would stand there silently and shoot me. And God bless them for that. But in the rest of Europe, we can't say fuck around and find out. We get as far as fuck around, and then we get stabbed. and our governments compel us to say, oh, it's my fault I got stabbed by that 50 IQ shadow beast from Pakistan. Don't look back in anger. Don't fly the flag of your nation. Just shut the fuck up and get stabbed again. Remember this, America. I know I say this every other week, but it's important. You really are the last bastion of the Anglosphere where patriotism and self-defense are even legal options, let alone proud traditions. And when some mob of blue-haired goons comes at you saying, no, you have to say what we tell you to say, for the love of fuck, do not capitulate. For your own sake and for the sake of the rest of the world, for the sake of the dominoes that have already fallen against you, I just want to tell you, good luck. We're all counting on you. And don't call me Shirley.
If this chick looked like me, if she was a 50-year-old plus, granny with gray hair and bad teeth, nobody would have cared what she said about this issue. Nobody would have bothered to demand that she side with them, and nobody would be threatening her with cancellation and all of the bad things that go along with that, because she wouldn't have had the popularity, she wouldn't have had the platform that they want. And that's pretty much the fact that she, as a young person, and she does look pretty young, she can't be anywhere near my age. Like she was able to be manipulated pretty easily there. All they had to do was threaten to take away a completely immaterial thing that, unless she's making her entire living on this internet stuff, then it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter how many people like you. Matters the quality of your relationships with the people that you have mutual camaraderie and attachment with. But women in general, whether they are some kind of top-notch influencer, whether they're making money from eating food and listening to music on the internet, or whether they're just some chick down the street who's posting pictures on Instagram that only a few of her classmates look at and like, and whatever else clicky things that you do on Instagram, they can all be manipulated for the most part by threatening their popularity. Most gals don't thrive on how many people have bullied them and failed at bullying. Most gals thrive on claiming that they're victims of bullying. Like I put carry notches in my computer of failed attempts at bullying, like you might carry notches in your gun at failed attempts at assassination that you where you shot back, and that's why they failed. But most women, most girls, the minute that you make them worry, and you can make them worry, that's the first thing. You can actually make them worry because they don't have the intellectual muscle, the strength to resist worrying if you threaten their popularity. The minute you make them worry that their popularity might shrink, they might not get as many thumbs up on socialmedia.com, whatever it is. That's it. They're fucked, and they have to do something about it. And they will fold. They will stick their finger up, and whichever way the wind is blowing, they'll bend in that direction. It doesn't matter if it means telling a group of people, yeah, you have to give up your housing so that foreign nationals can be brought in to live there, and the government's going to pay your landlord 3 times as much to house them just to make sure they'll take those guys and kick you out. It doesn't matter if she's supporting the firing of local workers in order to be able to use workers from other countries that don't defend themselves against exploitation as well. It's no problem, no problem. Go ahead and support that, right? Until you have every woman in the country supporting it. And as soon as you've got every woman in the country supporting it, the next thing you have, your entire country is taken over. And the men are now being told, why didn't you defend that woman from that mugger or rapist from Fuckistan or any nation south of the U.S. border that has caravanned its way in here? And of course, the answer is they tried. They tried to enforce the borders, and the people who didn't want the borders enforced, that didn't want boundaries enforced, pressured women, and women gave in to the pressure and pulled shit like this. And the next thing that you have, women have allowed these guys to come in and attack them. And now they're claiming men don't take care of them, men don't protect them. Right? There's pretty much the full circle of what's happened in the UK. And women like this will harbor it in the United States. They'll herald it in. This is why women shouldn't vote. This is the reason why men should be the ones making the decisions. Because if you tell a guy, if you defend yourself, if you maintain your boundaries, and I won't like you anymore, I will stop paying attention to you. Most guys are going to be like, yeah, so fuck you. This is my boundary. Don't cross it. And if you're going to be that way about it, I don't want anything to do with you. And most guys will stand up to that. There are a small number in comparison to the number of women who can be manipulated that way. But with women, it's the standard. It's the operating model. It's the basic vehicle before you add all the bells and whistles. Yes, these people can be manipulated by having their popularity threatened. And I hate to say it, but it's probably one of the most sad and pathetic things about being female. Is this, well, I won't like you anymore. Oh gosh, I better change what I'm saying then. Like you can tell me that all you like. I won't change a thing. Right? I won't like you anymore. Okay, bye. Right? But most women who fall for this shit are pretty much the reasons why every Western nation in the world is deteriorating. Why every Western nation in the world is being milked to death by exploiters who are able to use playing victim of people's opinions and people's boundaries as a means of breaking them down. So, like I said, I hate to say it. I hate to jump on this, poor woman's anti whatever her name is bandwagon, but I'm not just mad that she apologized. I'm not disappointed either that she apologized. I'm mad that women behave this way, and I'm disappointed that women behave this way because 200-300 years ago there was a much larger contingent of women that would say fuck you no. And over the last few hundred years, this is what women have become. You can completely erase someone's morality, someone's ethics, someone's intellect, someone's ability to determine what's right and wrong in the world and what they should support, where they should throw their influence if they're female, just by threatening their popularity. Women have regressed to a level. Well, I don't think women. It's hard to call it regression because I don't think there was ever a point in history where it was this bad. But women have, I don't know, shrunk, I guess, as people, as human beings, to the point where they are exhibiting a lower level of sapience than men have. They are not mindful of the consequences of these types of decisions. And I'll say it again, women shouldn't vote. This is why women shouldn't vote.
Rob Schneider did a bit on that. I saw it today. I don't know how old it is, but he said that women should vote, but not for important things. He said you should vote for the winner of American Idol, or vote for, you know, what it is we're gonna have for what it is you're gonna have at your potluck, what the theme is gonna be for the baby shower, but not for the president.
I can actually vote for where we're going to eat tonight.
Yeah, no, women don't want to vote on that. Those are tough questions.
Maybe we should go back to, you have to be the head of your household on your tax forms in order to vote.
Absolutely, yeah. I've said this. I got in a lot of shit for it. But
we could say, even if you have a household of one, you can file as head of household, just so that every household gets a vote, whether it's a household of one or a household. But if other people live with you, you don't have a household of one. Even if you're single and you live with your partner, your household has a head. So yeah, maybe we should. You have to file as the head of household on your taxes, or you don't get to vote. That would eliminate the worst contingent of female voters, honestly, because they're almost all dependent financially on a man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a you know, we're joking, but I've noticed that the jokes are going more and more mainstream. So
I'm not joking.
No, I know you're not joking. I mean, I'm okay.
I
Let
know
me put
most
it this
people
way.
that say
Let
this
me put
are
it this
joking.
way.
I'm
Okay,
not joking.
I don't think it's likely to happen just because we
Right.
say it, but
Right. Yeah,
I
you're
do
right.
think that
That's-
it's something that is
true.
being talked about more and more.
Yeah,
So
I don't think anyone should vote when it comes to political matters. Let's fucking
Yeah.
do away with democracy altogether and go back to monarchy. I mean, I'm half
Nope,
joking.
I don't think we
'cause-
should have monarchy either. No government.
Oh, let's not go down this rabbit hole. I got more stories to get
There's
through.
no such thing as a good government.
Yeah, but I mean, like, the thing is that we don't live in a world where we can just not have a government at all. Like, we just don't
But
live in that world
monarchy
yet.
is actually worse than
It's gonna
democracy
take
because-
generations of raising people that are actually, like, not dependent on the state in order for us to get to that point. But we're not there,
Yeah.
and it may never happen, and it probably will not happen in our lifetime. So, you know,
I just want to point out the nations that have been monarchy nations throughout most of their history are the ones that succumb to the European Union's bullshit.
yeah. Well, like, you know, like I said, I like ANCAP on paper, but it's just not something we can do in practice. So there's no.
Think of the steps we've taken to get here. We went from anarchy to monarchy to democracy to including women in that democracy. Maybe we can walk it back, baby step at a time. Like first,
There was a Republican there somewhere.
Women shouldn't vote. and yes,
and then
the
no one should
saying it.
vote, and then no one should vote, and then no kings, and then let's get back to just everyone's house is their own fucking. Government.
Anyway, to bring it back to the topic, Emaru, you should never apologize to these people. You owe them nothing, and they're going to hate you because at the end of the day, this isn't about whatever it is you said. This is ultimately about control. And they need you, because you're a popular person online, they need you to regurgitate their beliefs back at them so that they can turn to their friends and say, look, these people agree with me, they're good people. This is what Hollywood does when they virtue signal. They don't know what they're talking about. No one should take them seriously. And I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that, you know, actors are they're morons. They just regurgitate what they're told to say because it gets them photo ops and it gets them sound bites and they get to do the rounds and they get like their little comment posted on Entertainment Weekly or whatever the website is, people. So, but they're not saying anything of substance. and they're just using you in the same way, because as the Hollywood celebrity is dying, because it is, the internet celebrity is rising. And so Emaru is the new sort of Jennifer Lawrence, you know, and we got to get her opinion on this hot topic, and she doesn't have to give them one. She could pull a Sydney Sweeney and be like, when I'm ready to tell you what I think, I'll say something, and just leave it at that. But your audience thinks, oh, your silence is violence. Like you're agreeing with these monsters. Plus, I've seen you hanging out with this chud over here, so you must be one of them. You don't have to take the bait on that. Tell them to go fuck themselves. If they need you to tell them what to think, then something's wrong with them, obviously. So anyway,
You know, millennials and Zoomers need to take a note from Gen X on this. All right, when the COVID crisis and scam was occurring, and Mr. T came out and did one of his "I pity the fool" speeches in support of getting the jab. Everybody in Gen X that was aware of the problems with the jab, paying attention, and not intending to subject themselves to it, didn't change their mind, didn't apologize, didn't be like, oh no, one of our icons of television from when we were growing up, one of our heroes said we have to do this, and we're going to look bad if we don't do it. They lost respect for Mr. T. Right?
yeah, well, he was
actor.
scared, I
And
think.
I mean,
I think a lot of people
like,
that were trying to
I'm sure
get.
he probably was. He was
Yeah.
probably scared into it. Or maybe he is one of those guys that bought into everything. Maybe that was his real, not organic, but manipulated opinion.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of people in Hollywood that have consumed the Kool-Aid and then chewed up the package afterward, right? But the point is, it made zero difference in the rest of our opinions on the jab or any other aspect of the like, we didn't care who said what. Our opinions were determined based on the information that we found and our evaluation of that information, our histories of evaluating information on these subjects, and you know what, the fact that people were trying to badger us to take a particular opinion, and there was such a huge concerted, like, you must believe this effort, actually went against the opinion that they wanted us to have. And pressure, we react to that kind of pressure by pushing back, not by giving into it. And unfortunately, it seems like the celebrity said this works on millennials and it works on Zoomers when it shouldn't. Like, the celebrities are saying this, it should immediately make you suspicious of whatever this is. If there's a widespread support among the establishment, if there's like a huge celebrity ad campaign on social media where they're pretending to just organically believe this stuff and trying to convince you as well, that is a reason for you to presume whatever it is they're promoting to be a bad thing. Start investigating it from the position that it looks bad, and you're looking for any information to confirm or deny that it's bad, whatever it is they're promoting, and go from there. Don't sit here and accept something because some famous person said it, or think that you have to go along with the status quo of beliefs on something because you're famous, and it's going to ruin your popularity if you disagree.
Yeah. All right. I got a Rumble rant from NobaFan21. Thank you, NobaFan. He says for $1, leftist, silence is consent. Grape, allow me to introduce myself. Leftist, wait, that's illegal. Rumble doesn't like Rumble rants when I remove the G in grape. Appreciate that. Thank you. Well, you know how it works. It's just, it all depends on their idea of what context is. Nothing is real except their perception of reality. But anyway, Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. And speaking of mean girls bullying people, there was a January 2026 press release from the Coalition to End Domestic Violence, which is endtodv.org, an organization focused on issues like domestic violence, specifically male victims of domestic violence, argues that feminist promotion of women in the workplace based on supposed superior relationship skills has backfired, revealing a global pattern of female bullying, primarily relational, indirect, or covert aggression that contributes to widespread psychological harm. It claims that this bullying is now linked to a global epidemic of psychosis, particularly mass psychosis, observed increasingly amongst liberal and progressive women. This is actually related to Helen Andrews' essay on the Great Feminization, when a specific workplace environment or any kind of environment that has that is goal oriented, it could be school or something else, when it reaches a critical mass of women, the entire tone changes, and it becomes like less about whatever its goals were, and it sort of reorients itself in a let's say a hive-like orientation towards the feminine. And you guys we've talked about many examples of this, but this was another thing saying that it's like a global epidemic of psychosis. The piece cites commentator Bettina Arndt, who is an Australian, I guess he's an MRA adjacent at least, as documenting the scale of female workplace bullying worldwide, and quotes Heather McDonald observing a mass female psychosis, attributing it partly to women's higher average neuroticism, a well-established personality trait difference in psychology. The overall tone critiques feminist ideals and frames female aggression as an under-recognized driver of societal and individual mental health decline. There is also relevant and supporting related sources include studies showing bullying victimization roughly doubles the odds of psychotic experiences or first episode psychosis, with some evidence of stronger internalizing pathways in females. There's also a global burden analysis indicating that rising DALYs for bullying, attribute, anxiety, and depression from 1990 to 2019, often higher or increasing more in females. There's I have sources here. There's also research on gender differences in bullying types. Girls are more relational, or they do it on social media, and mental health impacts. So, just something that I thought was interesting doing the rounds, but it's kind of like stuff we already knew in a way. But yeah, women are mean to each other.
I noticed they're still calling it bullying, which is a child word for.
Oh yeah, sure.
Harassment is the adult word for it, and oppression is, I guess, the superego word for it.
Well, it's not quite. That's not quite accurate. You can bully someone once, right? You cannot harass someone once. Harassment is a pattern of behavior, and bullying someone once isn't oppression.
But if it results in psychosis,
yeah, if it results in psychosis, then it may be a pattern of behavior.
But they're still calling it this fucking childish word.
I think more often it stems from psychosis. But I mean, there isn't really a better way to separate those things. I think it's more reasonable to say that a lot of what they're relegating to bullying, which is just behavior that is abusive, but not necessarily violent, could be described as harassment. I don't know about oppression, but it could be described as harassment.
Oh, Mike, did you want to say anything else? Or Hannah, you want to say anything about the article? Did you guys drop?
Sorry to interrupt there.
Oh, no, it's okay.
No, that was the first thing I thought of, just nitpicking on words and their implicit meanings. But even the people that are pushing back against this still can't help using euphemisms, and I do have to say, like punching someone once is not bullying. Like demanding someone's lunch money once is not bullying. It's a separate.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Or it's robbery. But if you meet the definition of bullying, it's bullying. It's just not a pattern of bullying. Like, this is something that bothers me with people and words. I just had an argument with someone that said that basically the word oppression should never be used to describe the set of circumstances legally and socially that men face in the world right now. But if you actually read the definition of oppression, that is what it is. When you face inordinate legal restrictions, that it gives an entire set of things. So you're oppressed if you're enslaved, but you're also oppressed if you don't have the same legal rights as another group of people just because your demographic is different, right? If your human rights are less protected in your legal system because you're the wrong sex or the wrong race, that is the definition of oppression, and it's correct. We don't need to eliminate terms and stop using terms correctly to describe behavior that is real and documented and visible, because some people misuse them to describe things that don't meet their definition. And I think we're starting to get into a situation where, because woke ideologues claim to be oppressed if they can't make you obey them, or they claim to be bullied because they can't make you obey them, right? Or they claim to be harassed because they can't exclude you from an environment. That then people start wanting to just not use those terms at all. And I think that's just as bad as overusing them.
I just want us to meet in the middle. Like, what men do is oppression and what women do is bullying. It's like saying what men do is domestic abuse and what women do is nagging. Yeah, no, it's neither of these positive or negative extremes. It's men and women are both perfectly capable of doing nasty shit to each other, whatever the fuck we might call it, and we can at least agree to call it at least similar things.
Yeah. There's different terms you can use to describe a bully. You can say they're a domineering person, right? You can accuse them of hectoring. You can accuse them of being despotic. But when it comes to what you're talking about, like what the subject matter actually is, I think it's more important to discuss the behavior than the terminology, right? And the behavior is relational aggression. Relational aggression is the I don't know, research term, academic term, I guess, for bullying. That's what that is. Relational aggression. Relational aggression is when you essentially try to dominate somebody else through social manipulation and social exclusion and stuff like that. And that's how girls bully. They don't stand over somebody in the bathroom and say, "I'm going to stick your head in the toilet and flush it." Um, they're going to stick your social life in the toilet and flush it, for the same reason that I described when responding to the cancellation story, right? The apology story. Um, and the reason that relational aggression works is because women allow it. Women promote it. Women keep it fed and cultivate it, maintain it the way that men maintain roads, because they keep it in their back pocket in case they need to use it the whole time. Even if they claim to be victims of it, they'll keep it in their back pocket themselves. And, just in case some other woman comes along, or some guy who has less defenses against it decides to get all uppity and want to be, independent of their control, they've got that relational aggression in their back pocket they can use against him to force him to comply with their interests. And it works all too often, especially in the workplace, right? Especially when women can go to the women in the human resources department and say, this guy isn't picking up my slack, that's harassment, and get him fired. I mean, we've got a listener that's been talking about that quite a bit in the chat, almost every show, reminding you that happened to him. He had a female coworker. His workplace is mostly male because women mostly can't even do his job. Can't even handle the part that the one woman in his workplace did. But because he wasn't willing to pick up the slack of the woman who couldn't do the whole job, that relational aggression got him fired. Right? That is how women bully in the workplace. And that is oppressive because your human rights are not as protected. Your civil rights are not as protected. They're protected from being fired because you're a guy, even if they engage in this type of relational aggression. But a dude who is experiencing that relational aggression has very little recourse. The response from the employer is, what did you do to deserve it? Right? It's the same response that you get when you talk about your partner hitting you. If you're a guy, what did you do to piss her off? Right? It's the same response you get if you complain about being taken advantage of by a woman while you were drunk. Well, you must have wanted it. You must have given her some reason to believe you were interested. You probably consented. Right? Oh, when she pushed you, you rolled onto your back because you were unconscious and you had no muscle control. That's consent. Clearly, you were opening up for her. Right? This is how society treats men who are the victims of any degree of aggression from a woman, whether it's relational or physical or sexual. And the balance of it, if you can call it that, is that men have stopped engaging with women in the workplace. Women said, leave us alone or we'll report you and you will get fired. So men are leaving them alone. And what are they doing now? They're complaining that men won't mentor them. Don't mansplain to us. Don't talk to us. But if you won't mentor us, we're going to cry discrimination, right? How dare you not mansplain? We told you not to mansplain, but that doesn't mean you get to not mansplain when we want you to mansplain. Right? And mansplaining, by the way, women will say it's telling women things they already know. But anytime a man describes his own experience of something, women dismiss it as mansplaining. Right? Oh, I'm such a victim. I broke my leg. Oh, I know exactly how you feel. I broke my leg a couple of years ago. That's mansplaining. That's what you get. So when it comes down to this bullying, then it comes down to this kind of behavior. I don't blame men for being defensive. And when it comes down to women in the workplace who don't fit in with that, women who can't be plastic, to reference the movie, I suck at being plastic. And it's not because I don't know how to do it. I can imitate it. I've analyzed quite a bit of it. I can mimic it, and I can strategize it, and all that. It's just I'm lazy. I hate doing it. It's too much work, and I don't like what it does to the people around me. So women like me end up. Let's see. 2019, I got assaulted by another woman at work for not being plastic. And then the next manager that came in decided that, of course, I must have been the problem, even though the other girl was the one that was violent. And she was like half my age too. So it was embarrassing for me for violence to have taken place, but I guess she hadn't grown out of that yet. And that manager spent 6 years trying to prove I was the asshole, to the degree that she engaged in a gossip campaign about me. This is my manager, guys. Engaged in a gossip campaign about me. Every new employee that came in, she warned them about me. And I know this because all the male employees that worked under her told me so. Why did she warn me about you? You're fine. And then came the narcissist. And the narcissist was a foreign national who had to be the most praised person in the workplace. If she was not the most praised person in the workplace, then she was under attack. And since the people I take care of, their families like the job I do, because I'm focused on making sure that my clients are happy and safe and well cared for, and everything that I'm supposed to be doing gets done. And when I walk out the door, the place looks the way it's supposed to look. It's satisfying. Um, and it's not really about being praised or getting kudos. It's just about making sure that when this person comes home from their daily activities, they're not coming home to a mess. They're coming home to an organized and clean and safe environment that they can relax in, just like you or me can relax in our homes, because our homes are the way we want them to be. And like, it's not about the worker, it's about the person that we're doing the work to take care of. And apparently that pissed her off. And for 2 years, the last 2 years of my work environment, I had a matrix, and I couldn't talk about this either till that manager left, but I had this matrix of rules to accommodate this woman, that were things like, you can't do this part of your job anymore. Other people didn't have that rule. They still could do the job. But then if I didn't do it, then all of a sudden, why isn't this getting done? Well, because I was the one doing it. Now it's not getting done. And, this continued for, actually, it was 4 years now that I think about it, because it was 2 years of that with that lady. And then she self-deported, moved to another country, like the country that she came from, when she realized that she couldn't force me to change and force me out of the workplace. And then the manager continued to enforce those rules for 2 years after she left, until the manager left. And now the new manager is trying to figure out why the fuck all these rules are in place. And I explained a little bit to her, and she just kind of shook her head, and she's like, well, let's just dump all those. This is ridiculous. So you do get some women in the workplace who can be reasonable and rational, and they're very valuable, because they can restore order in the workplace. You can just do the job and get it done. Make sure that the goals of the job are being met, that the individuals that you're taking care of, or the things that you're building, or the construction that you're doing, the cleaning that you're doing, the repair work that you're doing, the transportation that you're doing, whatever your job is, making sure people get electricity to their house, making sure that kids know how to do math, that task is accomplished, that goal is accomplished, instead of stroking everybody's egos all the time. Right? Unfortunately, the workplace, because it is full of women who were not raised to think that it's shameful to stroke your own ego and expect other people to stroke your ego all the time. Because it's full of those women, it's always going to be like this until it becomes a shameful thing in our society to care more about your pull in the workplace, or how much praise you're getting in the workplace, or what everybody thinks of you outside of their satisfaction with your performance in the workplace. As long as it's acceptable for women to behave like that, this will never improve. And there will always be this kind of bullying. There will always, because they'll get away with it, right? They'll always be able to use, I'm the cute one, I'm the small one, I'm the one of a different color, I'm female and this person's male, I'm the more feminine one, whatever, to get away with that kind of aggressive behavior. And sometimes keeping your head down and just powering through, following whatever crazy rules that are applied to you and doing the job despite all of that will get you through it if you're female. But most of the time, if you're a dude and you experience something like that, your absolute two best bets are either find another job and get out of there as soon as you possibly can, or document the absolute fuck out of everything. If she so much as walks past your desk and farts every time she walks past, document it and then go to a lawyer, because you cannot win that battle by doing what I did, because you're a dude and you're automatically the bad guy until proven otherwise. So that's my best advice.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. I did get a super chow from Meredith G, who gives us $5. Thank you, Meredith, and says, HBR News number 539, Honey for the Badgers. One of the other reasons why relational aggression works is because it also hides accountability, because the bully is using proxies to do their work bullying. Yes. Yep. Women often use proxies to do stuff. And usually those are men a lot of times. So they make appeals to men to do their dirty work for them. So in a way, this Mean Girls image that I used is not really the full picture, because women will often use men as their proxies. But I just like the movie, so
Girl that assaulted me used a cop as her proxy.
Yeah,
and she did engage in the physical violence herself. And this was another one. Some narcissists, their ego is around getting praised, like the one that I was more descriptive of, right? This other girl was narcissistic too. She didn't have to have praise. She didn't have to be like patted on the back and told good job. But if she received any kind of criticism or even just support that was criticism adjacent, that resulted in a meltdown. And it took me, because it wasn't, the praise me type of narcissist. It took me until after the assault before I recognized it. But as soon as the officer arrived, she went from tough girl trying to beat up on a middle-aged granny to, poor, innocent, doe-eyed, teary-eyed cutie pie. And I mean, this girl was as cute as a kitten. And then that resulted in her getting away with the situation, because instead of charging her with assault, he charged us both with disorderly conduct, and I had to actually fight that and get it expunged from my record. And it was pretty obvious to everybody else. I mean, I got an apology from a judge for that, even though the judge wasn't involved in anything other than me going in and filing a motion to expunge it. But it was quite an experience, because I knew that stuff happened in high school, and I knew women could do that stuff, but I never experienced it at that level, that personally, until that incident.
Yeah.
And if I had been male, I probably would have been charged with assault. And the thing that he used as the basis for that was me trying to get away from her when she had shoved me up against the wall and was hitting me. It's like I kept saying I didn't want to hit her, I didn't want to hurt her, so I just tried to push my way out of the hold and get away from her. And so he took that as you pushed her because you were fighting and you were in a fight and it was your fault.
Yeah.
And if I'd have been a guy, it would have been even worse. Because
Like-
I know of at least one guy that did 18 months in jail for brushing past a woman. His shoulder touched her shoulder on his way out of a room where she was throwing heavy knickknacks at him.
Like, it's easy to assume that we deal with all our problems by saying orange man bad. But what about pink girls bad?
Pink girl's terrible.
I just been staring at this image for so long, and I'm like,
I'm sorry
no.
that people are so jealous of me. But I can't help it that I'm popular.
Yeah, no, it's difficult to quantify just how many of our problems result in pink girls.
Yeah.
But yes, let's move on.
All right, we're going to move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Appreciate it. So, yeah. All right. Let's see here. Just going to set this up really quick. All right, so need to put an image up there.
Just like a woman.
So we're going to... So in a recent... This is just ending on something somewhat of a lighter note. In a recent interview with Empire Magazine, published early this month, director Travis Knight discussed his upcoming live-action Masters of the Universe film set for release on June 5th of 2026. So it's the summer release from Amazon, MGM Studios, and Mattel. Knight praised Jared Leto's approach to portraying the iconic villain Skeletor, noting that Leto, who approached the project unprompted due to his personal affection for the character, wanted to swing for the fences and create his own interpretation, somehow not recognizing that Jared Leto is box office cancer, but they keep giving him work. And also, bear in mind, Mattel is the same company that owned the rights to Barbie, so it should come to no surprise that Knight described the original cartoon Skeletor as cool, scary, funny, insecure, and possessing a distinctive voice, elements that provided rich material for Leto. He affirmed satisfaction with the final take, stating, Skeletor is kind of the embodiment of toxic masculinity, framing the character as a representation of harmful masculine traits like insecurity-driven aggression, dominance-seeking, and emotional suppression in a villainous context.
Well, I don't like to feel good. I like to feel evil. Oh.
The comment has sparked mixed reactions online, with some outlets and fans highlighting it as a modern interpretive lens on the classic antagonist who, just seeks power and conquest over Eternia, while others, particularly in communities like Reddit's Kotaku in Action or YouTube Analysis, criticized it as unnecessary politicization, overreach on a campy 1980s property. Knight also defended keeping Skeletor's literal skull face, insisting, fuck that shit, Skeletor has a skull face. Well, thank God for that. At least they're going to get that. To stay true to the source material. The statement ties into broader promotional buzz for the film, which features Nicholas Galtzine as He-Man, Prince Adam, and has already released a teaser trailer showing their confrontation. Okay, Mike, I know you want to say something about this.
Bro, this hits me where I live. For real. I've been a fanboy of He-Man since I was 3. Before that, my first ever memory on this earth, in this life, involved my He-Man toys when I was 3. So this could not possibly be deeper into my wheelhouse. You have seriously hit a nerve, son, and you're going to get some. He-Man played on 2 fundamental tropes. Firstly, that there can be a clear delineation between good and evil. And secondly, that this conflict can be played out in the realm of masculine anthropomorphism. I mean, he was called He-Man, and literally every male character had a ripped, roid-raging, hyper-masculine physique. Now, neither of these tropes is a strict reflection of reality. It was all very much fantasy for the sake of play, of playing, and so on. The theme of Masters of the Universe is of war, interplanetary, spiritual, and kinetic war. In reality, war is never just a case of good versus evil. It's just that both sides must necessarily think of themselves as good and think of their opponents as evil. In reality, no military force thinks of itself as evil. Skulls or no skulls, there are some individual psychopaths who will concede that they are entirely self-serving agents of wanton destruction, but there is no individuality when it comes to war. An army does not cohere as a collective. An army that does cohere as a collective, that does not cohere as a collective, will never win against an army that does work together as a well-oiled machine. Because with pure individuality, there is no army. It's just a disorganized cloud of chaos. It's the same with the Warhammer thing. The evil faction is called Chaos, and it is characterized by chaos. This would never happen in reality. Life itself is not chaos, it is order. Even if the life forms in question are technically undead and therefore not alive, like they're all zombies and skeletons and chaos warriors and whatever creature lies under the chaos armor, they're still organized, and organization is the opposite of chaos. If they were truly chaotic, the zombies and skeletons and chaos warriors would just kill each other before the war had even started. So yeah, it's the stuff of fantasy. It's a performative representation of the fight between order and chaos, between life and the disorganized caprice of nature. The disorganized caprice of nature is, volcanoes and hurricanes and tsunamis and death and famine and pestilence and, yes, war itself. The disorganized caprice of nature does not have armies, and it sure as fuck is not led by an actual muscle-bound blue man with a skull for a face. What Skeletor represents is indeed toxicity, because toxicity is something unambiguously destructive. Toxins existed in non-biological nature before life ever existed. And then some life forms harnessed the power of toxicity in order to destructively poison those who would threaten their equilibrium. Yes, that is indeed the point. And Skeletor is indeed masculine because this was a range of toys that was marketed specifically to boys by Mattel, by the way, as Brian pointed out, the company that had spent the 2 previous decades marketing Barbie to girls. What do little girls like? They like to play with hyper feminine characters who just stand there wearing clothes and sit there having tea parties and doing nothing. Yeah, and that's fine. But only by the 80s did Mattel gather round and start brainstorming ideas as to what little boys like. Little boys like hypermasculine characters who engage in spiritual wars between the forces of good and evil. And pardon my controversy, but I think that's fine too. And it necessarily involves a force of good that looks masculine and a force of evil that looks masculine. And boys would play with these toys, fully understanding that Skeletor is the bad guy and He-Man is the good guy. So it's not that Skeletor represents unique masculinity, it's that Skeletor represents unique toxicity. He is not the toxic masculine, he is the masculine toxic. So that sounds arbitrary and interchangeable, but it's not. Masculinity is the theme, that boys find relatable. Toxicity is the subcategory that boys find abstract. Just like with Transformers, robots are the theme that boys find relatable. Toxicity is the subcategory that boys find abstract. Machine toxicity, such as
machines, dude.
It's not a tangible reality. It's a fictional characteristic of the Decepticons. And it was only ever fictional. Machines are not inherently evil. It's just something that we imagine so that we can play out these war games with machines as the theme. I suppose the elephant in the room is, why are there no evil characters in the Barbie franchise? The midwit interpretation would be that there are no evil women, that there are no toxic women. And that does appear to be where the midwit mind has landed when it comes to these things. Never mind the existence of the He-Man character Evil Lynn, who was literally called Evil Lynn. I don't know which actress is playing her, or if she's going to tap into her toxic femininity in order to inhabit that character. We'll probably get a spin-off of the story of Evil Lynn and how she was never really evil. She was just driven to it against her will by Skeletor's thrall. Calling it now, by the way. After the debacle of Kevin Smith's rebooted He-Man cartoon, where He-Man died and Teela fully embraced her main character syndrome, it would not fucking surprise me where they go next. Evil Lynn, she was always a good guy, and she's going to defeat all the men on both sides. But the point is, there is no villain in the Barbie franchise. But that's not because there are no evil women. It's because little girls aren't particularly interested in delineating between good and evil, between order and chaos. To them, it's all the same. To them, it's whoever is the prettiest should be in charge. And it's all relative. It's all about novelty. Whoever turned up most recently with the latest trendy clothing accessory should be the most powerful entity in the power dynamic. Look, this Barbie has a new hat. That is why modern midwits have no concept of the toxic feminine, because they don't know what it is. They can't conceive of what it might be. But yeah, there you go. That's what it is. It's the amoral worship of contemporary consensus. When a new He-Man toy came out, it was either a goodie or a baddie, and boys would proceed to add it to whichever army it belonged. When a new Barbie comes out, it is always the goodie. Everyone else was the baddie in comparison. The newest thing is the best thing, and the oldest thing is the worst thing. Needless to say, it would be nice if little girls eventually grew out of this mindset. This I'm going to say it, toxic mindset. Just like it would be nice if men grew out of the mindset that humans can be neatly delineated into good and evil. But we found ourselves in a rather dark amalgamation of these childish mindsets, wherein men have decreed that all men are the baddies and all women are the goodies, while women agree with this, but women have also decreed that it very much depends on the novelty, that those boring white men that have always been here are the baddies, while those exotic foreign men with the different hats are the goodies. I put it to you, ladies and gentlemen, that if there be any evil, if there be any toxicity in men or in women, that it is precisely that. It's when boys and girls fail to grow out of their childish paradigms of morality. and they live the rest of their lives pushing men into eternal wars and pushing women into eternal tea parties where those women casually discuss how to push men into eternal wars. I have much to say about this. I've probably got 3 dissertations and a thesis in me, but for the sake of time, I will stop because it's been an hour and a half. Dr. Random Cam, Mountain News, Honey Badger Radio.
You certainly didn't. You certainly elaborated, and you didn't just leave.
Just
All
like
right,
a woman.
There you go. It's all in the difference between how boys play and how girls play, right? Girls don't want, nobody wants to play the bad guy as a girl, but boys will revel in it. I get to be the villain, you get to be the good guy today. We'll switch places next time. And hell, in my neighborhood, the boys invented a game that is essentially tag, but instead of one person being it, it's a free for all. And instead of tagging each other with your fingers, you're pointing little plastic replicas of guns at each other and shooting. And if somebody is pointing at you and they shoot, you have to fall down and die and be dead for 10 minutes, and then you get back up. And then you can play again. And that was, nobody was a bad guy and everybody was the bad guy in that one. But they don't have to be the boy boss. There's no such thing as a boy boss. There's only a girl boss, right? They don't have to be in an everything is awesome situation where the reason everything is awesome is because everybody has to get praised and everybody has to get their interests coddled and so on. Girls do that, right? So girls have to be the ones that you can't have a villain. Although Barbie movies have villains, but I'm sure somebody will correct us on that. But it's not the same thing because Barbie didn't come from a cartoon or a movie. He-Man came from a story. Barbie's stories came from the existence of the toy, and the system that under which the toy is produced really never did have a villain. You can't call a girl a villain. She gets upset, right? And even Disney villains, the female Disney villains, had to be redeemed, right? They had to have backstories that you had to be sympathetic to so that you couldn't be, and the Wicked Witch of the West had to have a backstory that you could be sympathetic to, because when women do bad things, it can't be because they're bad people. Whereas men, boys and men, they'll take accountability that, I've got bad characteristics. That's why I did something bad. So if I fix that characteristic, my behavior will follow. That's the first thing, right? The second thing is this whole concept of toxic masculinity. HBR Talk did a whole investigation and discussion on this, I think, in our first year we still had Allison and Karen regularly on HBR Talk together with me at that time. And I think we had, I think Anna Cherry was in that episode too, because we all did sort of look into various aspects of it, the history, the characteristics that are attributed to it, and so on. And one of the things that we figured out and pointed out, besides the fact that the idea of toxic masculinity was invented by a person experiencing gender dysphoria for whom the experience of masculinity felt like a prison, regardless of whether the traits were toxic or not. But the actual characteristics that are attributed as toxic masculinity are not necessarily masculine. Both sexes engage in them. Things like using violence instead of diplomacy to get what you want. That's not masculine, that's immature. And boys and girls do it. Toddlers of both sexes do it. In fact, a sign of maturity is that you have started to grow out of using violence to get what you want and use diplomacy instead, right? And diplomacy is finding mutual agreeable ground, mutual ways of negotiating with each other for a win-win situation for both sides. It's not relational aggression, that's still aggression. So it's not necessarily masculinity. Even things like, well, men don't go to the doctor because they think they have to be stoic. It's usually women who demand that men be stoic. And I know my fair share of stoic women too. You try asking me when was the last time I went to the doctor. I try not to do that. I don't like being in there. And it's not necessarily just stoicism. It's in stubborn independence, right? So all of these things, if you were to go point by point and look at every item on the list of traits that feminists call toxic masculinity, or the list of characteristics or behaviors, social attitudes that feminists call toxic masculinity, they're exhibited by both sexes, and both sexes impose them on men. And both sexes treat them as honorable or respectable when women do them. And so I don't think that it's fair to call it masculinity at all. Those toxic traits are just immaturity. And the difference is, when men are immature, everybody notices. People will say, this guy's just a little man baby, right? Oh, he's refusing to grow up. Perpetual child, Peter Pan syndrome. There's all kinds of negative things to say about a guy who is childish. Not to be confused with childlike, not to be confused with a guy who's completely innocent because he's got a disability, or a guy who maintains a boyish sense of humor. Right? There's a few positive things that can be said about a guy who is positively youthful, right? But when women are childish, you can't say that about them. If you do, you're a misogynist. Nobody gets called a misandrist for noticing that, for instance, it's childish for a man to refuse to work even if he can and rely on his parents well into his 30s or 40s or whatever age to just wholesale support him, when there's plenty of opportunity for him and stuff, and plenty of capability, right? Not a disabled guy. Nobody calls somebody misandrist for criticizing that guy and saying, why don't you just go get a job? What's wrong with you? But if a woman does the same thing, and she is criticized as a perpetual little girl who refuses to grow up, you can't even call her an old maid. She gets to my age and she's not married. You can't even call her an old maid without getting called a misogynist. Society accepts childishness from women. From men, we refer to it as toxic. And that is the real story of toxic masculinity. It's not that there are aspects of masculinity that are positive and aspects of masculinity that are toxic. Right? It's that there is much more tolerance for childishness when women do it. And so it's viewed as a masculine trait when a large number of men engage in it in any way. No, I'm senior 6. I'm not calling myself an old maid. I'm married. An old maid is a woman who never gets married. Back in the day, they would have called a guy who never got married might get called a bum. A woman who never got married might get called an old maid.
All right.
A maid is a kind of servant, by the way. A hero is also a kind of servant.
Yes.
So to call yourself a maid is like calling yourself a hero.
There you go.
There you go. There you go, ladies. You're heroes in development. All right, so I got a super chat from Albatross4920 for $5, and he says, "I just want to hear Skeletor call someone a blithering boob." I don't have that soundbite. I'll give you the woman one again if you.
You're
like.
a blithering boob.
There you go.
Just like a woman.
I hope he says this in the movie.
I don't think it's a coincidence.
I really want him to say it.
Monarch,
So I think that they're basically they're gonna unintentionally create the best character. It's gonna be everyone's favorite. It's gonna be like Ken all over again. Where they're like, "Oh, you guys aren't. You're not reacting the way you're supposed to. You're not supposed to like him." And I think that men are just gonna embrace it. So
you know about Venture Brothers, right, Brian?
Oh yeah, I have all the episodes. I didn't watch like the movie. But yeah, I watched most of it. But
the Monarch has exactly the same voice as Skeletor.
Yes, yes, he does.
And that's how you do a villain voice. It's someone who's a little bit squeaky, a little bit high pitched voice, because we somehow recognize that toxic masculinity is in fact. Feminine males,
kind of feminine.
You ever notice also, like, they always sound like they're shouting and grandstanding, whereas the men who are heroes don't necessarily, like, obviously in tropey things, there'll be the hero voice, but which the Tick explains best.
Mm-hmm.
But from the diaphragm, but of course. In old school hero movies, a lot of times the hero is very soft spoken and doesn't have to posture, doesn't have to bloviate, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just backs up what he has asserted with action, and that's also another, like, they refer to it as little man syndrome, even if you're not little, but if you feel insecure about your position, your whatever, your assertions, you bloviate and you yell and you project a false image of competence and security and stuff. And if you're more secure in what you're saying, you don't have to do any of those things because it stands for itself.
Skeletor will return.
All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up here. And what, Mike? Sorry.
Skeletor will return to deliver uncomfortable truths.
Yes, to deliver uncomfortable truths. We're gonna wrap the show up here and go into the patron show. So please consider joining us for that. And we'll see you guys then. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to Mike and Hannah, as always, for supporting me in doing the show here. And if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we talked about on the show today, and please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.